Imagine a continent at a crossroads where the very ideals of freedom and sovereignty are tested not just for one nation, but for the future of all Europe. Today, Europe stands united, ready to defend those values and support a partner whose struggle is a defining moment for us all. European leaders have come together in an unprecedented display of unity and determination, signaling a powerful commitment to support Ukraine during a time of escalating global tensions. This collective stance is not simply a diplomatic formality, but a clear message to the world that Europe recognizes the critical importance of standing shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine as it faces mounting challenges. The geopolitical landscape in Eastern Europe has become increasingly complex, with Ukraine at the center of a struggle that tests the resolve of international alliances and the very principles of sovereignty and self-determination. In response, European nations have set aside differences and coordinated efforts to present a united front, underscoring the urgency and gravity of the situation. This solidarity reflects a deep understanding that the fate of Ukraine is intrinsically linked to broader European security and stability. For decades, Europe has sought to promote peace, democracy, and cooperation across its borders, and the current circumstances demand a reaffirmation of those values. The leaders acknowledge that allowing Ukraine to face these threats in isolation would not only jeopardize its future, but also send a dangerous signal to other countries in the region and beyond. As a result, this united pledge is as much about defending shared ideals as it is about supporting a single nation. The commitment extends beyond mere words, encompassing a wide range of initiatives designed to bolster Ukraine's resilience. European governments are coordinating the delivery of humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering of civilians caught in conflict zones. They are also increasing economic assistance aimed at stabilizing Ukraine's economy amid severe disruptions. Furthermore, military support, including the provision of defensive equipment and training, is being ramped up to enhance Ukraine's capacity to protect its territorial integrity. These efforts demonstrate that Europe's promise is rooted in practical, tangible actions that reflect the seriousness with which it views the situation. The unity among European leaders also sends a strong diplomatic signal to all global actors involved or observing. It communicates that attempts to undermine Ukraine's sovereignty will not be met with indifference or division, but rather with a coordinated and firm response. This collective approach is critical in deterring aggression and maintaining the credibility of international norms that have long governed state behavior. By standing together, European nations reinforce the notion that the principles of international law and respect for borders remain fundamental pillars of global order. This pledge also highlights the evolving nature of European foreign policy, which increasingly recognizes the necessity of strategic partnerships and the importance of collective security. In a world where threats are multifaceted and often transnational, cooperation is essential. The situation with Ukraine has catalyzed a renewed sense of purpose within European institutions and member states alike, motivating them to forge stronger bonds and improve mechanisms for coordinated action. At the core of this commitment is a recognition of the human cost involved. Leaders are acutely aware that beyond the political and strategic implications, there are millions of lives directly impacted by the conflict. By standing firmly with Ukraine, Europe seeks to offer not only protection, but also hope to those who have endured hardship and uncertainty. This humanitarian dimension adds a profound moral imperative to the political and strategic considerations driving the unified pledge. The unwavering commitment of European leaders to uphold Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity reflects a fundamental principle that lies at the heart of international relations: the inviolability of national borders and the right of a people to govern themselves without external interference. This principle, enshrined in the United Nations Charter and various international agreements, serves as a cornerstone for maintaining peace and stability across the globe. In the context of Ukraine, European nations view the defense of its sovereignty not only as a matter of legal obligation, but as a vital safeguard against the erosion of the rules-based international order that has long underpinned global diplomacy. Ukraine's sovereignty is more than a legal concept. It embodies the country's right to determine its own political future, economic direction, and cultural identity. European leaders recognize that any threat to this sovereignty represents a direct challenge to the norms that sustain peaceful coexistence among nations. In recent years, Ukraine has faced unprecedented pressure and incursions that have tested its ability to maintain control over its territory. Europe's commitment to stand firmly by Ukraine signals a rejection of any attempts to redraw borders through coercion or force, reaffirming that such actions are unacceptable in today's interconnected world. This support for territorial integrity is particularly significant given the complex, historical, and geopolitical context surrounding Ukraine. The country occupies a strategic position at the crossroads of Europe and Eurasia, making it a focal point for competing interests and influences. European leaders understand that allowing Ukraine's borders to be compromised would not only destabilize the region but also embolden similar tactics elsewhere, threatening the sovereignty of other nations. By backing Ukraine's right to self-determination, Europe sends a clear message that it will not tolerate the undermining of international law for the sake of short-term geopolitical gains. The pledge to uphold sovereignty also involves practical measures aimed at reinforcing Ukraine's ability to maintain control over its territory. European countries have increased support for Ukraine's defense capabilities, recognizing that sovereignty cannot be defended by diplomatic words alone. This includes supplying defensive weapons, sharing intelligence, and offering training to Ukrainian forces. Such assistance helps Ukraine deter aggression and strengthens its position in negotiations by demonstrating that it has the backing of a broad international coalition. In addition, Europe supports Ukraine's efforts to improve governance, rule of law, and economic stability, all of which contribute to a stronger, more resilient state able to safeguard its territorial integrity. Moreover, the focus on sovereignty aligns with broader European values of democracy, human rights, and respect for the rule of law. European leaders consistently emphasize that Ukraine's struggle is not just about geography, but about preserving a democratic model that values freedom and the rights of individuals. By defending Ukraine's sovereignty, Europe is also defending the principles that underpin its own political systems and those of many other countries worldwide. The commitment to territorial integrity also reflects a long-term vision for regional security. European leaders recognize that the resolution of the conflict in Ukraine must involve respect for its internationally recognized borders as a prerequisite for lasting peace. Any durable settlement will need to acknowledge Ukraine's sovereignty fully and ensure that its borders are respected by all parties involved. This approach aims to prevent future conflicts and establish a stable environment conducive to cooperation, development, and integration within the broader European community. In this light, Europe's promise to uphold Ukraine's sovereignty stands as a testament to its dedication to a world order based on respect, law, and mutual recognition, setting a precedent for how nations should interact in times of crisis. Europe's promise to provide concrete support to Ukraine encompasses a multifaceted approach that goes well beyond symbolic gestures, involving substantial economic, military, and humanitarian assistance designed to address the immediate needs of the country, as well as its long-term stability. This comprehensive aid package reflects a deep understanding among European leaders that supporting Ukraine requires practical, coordinated actions to strengthen its resilience against ongoing challenges and to help rebuild the nation amid the disruption caused by conflict. On the economic front, European countries have stepped up efforts to stabilize Ukraine's economy, which has been severely impacted by the turmoil. Financial aid, including grants, loans, and investment packages, aims to shore up public services, maintain government operations, and support vital sectors such as energy, infrastructure, and agriculture. By helping to stabilize the economy, Europe not only assists Ukraine in weathering the current crisis, but also lays the groundwork for sustainable recovery and growth. This economic support often comes with technical assistance and advisory services to promote transparency, good governance, and reforms, ensuring that resources are used effectively to build a more resilient and self-sufficient economy. Military aid forms a critical pillar of Europe's concrete support, reflecting the urgent need to enhance Ukraine's defensive capabilities. Recognizing the ongoing threats to Ukraine's sovereignty and security, European nations have committed to providing defensive weaponry, equipment, and training to the Ukrainian armed forces. This assistance helps Ukraine to better protect its borders, improve its operational effectiveness, and deter further aggression. The support ranges from supplying small arms and ammunition to more advanced systems, such as anti-aircraft and anti-tank weapons. Training programs and intelligence sharing are also crucial components, as they enable Ukrainian forces to operate more effectively in complex security environments and enhance interoperability with European militaries. Humanitarian aid is another vital aspect of Europe's response, addressing the urgent needs of civilians affected by conflict. Millions of people in Ukraine have faced displacement, loss of homes, and limited access to essential services such as healthcare, food, and shelter. European countries, often in coordination with international organizations, have mobilized resources to provide emergency relief, including medical supplies, food distribution, and temporary housing. Efforts also focus on protecting vulnerable populations, including children, the elderly, and refugees, by ensuring access to education, psychological support, and basic human rights protections. This humanitarian assistance underscores Europe's commitment not only to the political and military dimensions of the crisis, but also to the human dignity and welfare of those caught in the conflict. Together, these elements of concrete support demonstrate Europe's holistic approach to aiding Ukraine. The integration of economic, military, and humanitarian assistance reflects a recognition that addressing the crisis requires tackling interconnected challenges simultaneously. Strengthening Ukraine's economy makes it more capable of sustaining its defense and governance, while military support protects its territorial integrity, and humanitarian aid alleviates suffering and maintains social stability. This multifaceted strategy is designed to empower Ukraine to withstand current pressures while building the foundations for a more secure and prosperous future. Moreover, the coordinated nature of this support enhances its effectiveness. European countries and institutions work closely to ensure that resources are allocated efficiently, gaps are addressed, and efforts are complementary rather than duplicative. This cooperation extends to working with Ukraine's government and civil society to tailor aid to the most pressing needs, adapt to changing circumstances on the ground, and maintain accountability and transparency. By pledging and delivering this broad spectrum of concrete support, Europe signals its determination to turn words of solidarity into meaningful action, reinforcing Ukraine's capacity to navigate one of the most challenging periods in its modern history. Europe's steadfast support for Ukraine is not only an expression of shared values, but also a strategic response to an evolving global landscape marked by shifting alliances and emerging power dynamics. The complex interplay of national interests, regional security concerns, and international diplomacy has created an environment in which traditional partnerships are being tested and new alignments are forming. In this context, Europe's commitment to Ukraine reflects a calculated effort to navigate these changes while reinforcing a rules-based based international order that has been increasingly challenged in recent years. The strategic dimension of Europe's support is rooted in the recognition that Ukraine occupies a critical geopolitical position. Serving as a bridge between Eastern and Western Europe, Ukraine's stability has implications far beyond its borders. Its security influences the broader balance of power on the continent, affects the flow of energy resources, and impacts the security of neighboring countries. European leaders understand that any destabilization in Ukraine could ripple outward, creating uncertainty and potential conflict that would threaten the entire region. By standing firmly with Ukraine, Europe aims to prevent the spread of instability and to maintain a stable environment conducive to cooperation and prosperity. This strategic approach also acknowledges the importance of deterring actions that seek to alter borders or influence sovereign nations through coercion or force. Europe's support for Ukraine sends a clear message to all global actors that aggressive moves undermining sovereignty will be met with unified resistance. Such a stance is intended to discourage similar tactics elsewhere, reinforcing the principle that national boundaries and independence are inviolable. This deterrence factor is critical as it helps uphold the credibility of international law and dissuades potential challengers from testing the limits of acceptable behavior. Moreover, Europe's backing of Ukraine is part of a broader recalibration of foreign policy priorities in response to a more multipolar world. With the rise of new powers and the shifting focus of traditional allies, European countries are increasingly emphasizing the need to build resilient partnerships and alliances based on shared interests and common values. Ukraine's partnership with Europe embodies this approach, representing a mutual commitment to democracy, security, and economic integration. Supporting Ukraine is thus not only about addressing immediate challenges, but also about shaping the future architecture of regional and global relations. The evolving alliances and geopolitical shifts also highlight the importance of maintaining a cohesive and coordinated European response. Fragmentation or hesitation could weaken the overall position and embolden adversaries. European leaders have therefore emphasized unity and collective action as essential components of their strategy. This includes aligning policies within the European Union, collaborating with NATO allies, and engaging with international partners to create a broad coalition of support for Ukraine. Such coordination enhances the effectiveness of diplomatic, economic, and military measures, ensuring that Europe speaks with one voice on these critical issues. In addition, the strategic dimension encompasses the long-term vision for European security. Supporting Ukraine is seen as a key element in preventing further conflicts and fostering a stable neighborhood. This vision includes promoting reforms in Ukraine that strengthen governance, enhance resilience, and facilitate closer integration with European institutions. By investing in Ukraine's future, Europe aims to create a partner capable of contributing to regional stability and security over the decades to come. This strategic calculation, therefore, underscores the complex and multifaceted nature of Europe's support for Ukraine. It is not merely a reaction to current events, but a deliberate effort to navigate a changing world order, protect core values, and build a sustainable foundation for peace and cooperation in the region. Europe's recognition of Ukraine as a crucial partner for regional stability and democracy is rooted in the profound understanding that Ukraine's future is deeply intertwined with the broader security and political landscape of the continent. This partnership goes beyond geographic proximity or temporary alliances. It represents a shared commitment to fostering democratic governance, economic development, and peaceful coexistence in a region historically marked by conflict and division. European leaders see Ukraine not just as a neighbor, but as a vital component of a stable and prosperous Europe, making their support a strategic investment in the continent's collective future. Ukraine's journey toward democracy has been a central factor in shaping this partnership. Over the past decade, the country has undertaken significant reforms aimed at strengthening democratic institutions, enhancing transparency, and promoting the rule of law. Despite facing internal challenges and external pressures, Ukraine's commitment to these democratic principles resonates deeply with European values. This alignment has fostered a sense of solidarity, motivating European nations to back Ukraine's aspirations and support its transformation. The partnership thus embodies a broader effort to promote democracy in a region where authoritarian influences have often threatened stability and human rights. Moreover, Ukraine's role as a partner for regional stability is critical in the context of security dynamics in Eastern Europe. The region has long been vulnerable to conflicts and geopolitical tensions, and Ukraine's stability serves as a buffer against the spread of unrest. European leaders recognize that a secure and stable Ukraine contributes to a safer neighborhood, reducing the risk of conflicts that could spill over into neighboring countries. By supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and development, Europe aims to build a resilient barrier against instability, reinforcing peace across the continent. Economic ties also form a fundamental aspect of the partnership between Europe and Ukraine. Ukraine's economy, rich in resources and strategic industries, has the potential to play a significant role in the broader European market. European investments and trade relations are seen as mutually beneficial, fostering economic growth, job creation, and innovation. Strengthening these economic connections helps integrate Ukraine more closely with European systems and standards, promoting long-term cooperation and interdependence. This economic partnership not only supports Ukraine's recovery and development, but also contributes to the overall prosperity and competitiveness of the European region. Cultural and social links further enhance the partnership with shared history, values, and people-to-people connections, providing a strong foundation for mutual understanding and cooperation. Many Europeans feel a personal connection to Ukraine, which has deep historical and cultural ties with several European countries. These bonds contribute to the broad public support within Europe for Ukraine and reinforce the political will to maintain a strong partnership. The social dimension thus complements the political and economic aspects, creating a comprehensive framework for collaboration. In addition, Europe's support for Ukraine as a partner for stability and democracy sends a powerful message about the kind of regional order it seeks to promote. It underscores a vision of a Europe united by democratic values, respect for sovereignty, and cooperative security arrangements. This vision challenges alternative models based on coercion or authoritarianism, positioning Ukraine as a beacon of democratic resilience in a contested neighborhood. Supporting Ukraine is therefore both a practical and symbolic act, reaffirming Europe's commitment to a rules-based order and inclusive regional cooperation. By investing in Ukraine's future as a stable and democratic partner, Europe is laying the groundwork for a stronger, more united continent. This partnership reflects a strategic understanding that the security and prosperity of one nation contribute to the well-being of all, creating a ripple effect of stability and democratic progress throughout the region and beyond. The European Union's firm stance in support of Ukraine sends a powerful and unambiguous message to the international community that any attempts to undermine the partnership between Europe and Ukraine will be met with a unified and resolute response. This collective position reflects a deep commitment among European nations to defend the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the rule of law, which form the foundation of international order. By standing together, Europe demonstrates that it will not tolerate efforts to destabilize Ukraine or weaken the broader framework of alliances that underpin regional and global security. This unity is particularly significant given the complex geopolitical environment in which Europe operates. Challenges to Ukraine's sovereignty are not isolated incidents, but part of broader attempts by certain actors to reshape the regional balance of power through coercion or military force. European countries recognize that allowing such tactics to succeed would set a dangerous precedent, emboldening others to pursue similar strategies elsewhere. In response, the EU and its member states have crafted a coordinated approach that combines diplomatic pressure, economic sanctions, and military support to deter aggression and uphold international norms. Economic sanctions play a crucial role in this strategy, serving as a clear signal that violations of Ukraine's sovereignty come with tangible costs. By targeting key sectors, individuals, and entities involved in undermining Ukraine's stability, Europe aims to constrain the resources available to those who seek to destabilize the country. These measures are designed not only to punish wrongdoing, but also to encourage a return to diplomatic dialogue and respect for international law. The effectiveness of sanctions relies heavily on the cohesion and commitment of European states to enforce them consistently and adapt as necessary in response to evolving circumstances. Diplomatic efforts are equally important in reinforcing this unified stance. European leaders continuously engage with global partners to build coalitions that support Ukraine and isolate those who threaten its sovereignty. Through forums such as the United Nations, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe (OSCE), and other international bodies, Europe advocates for peaceful resolution of conflicts and the protection of fundamental rights. These diplomatic channels also provide platforms for monitoring compliance with agreements and addressing violations in a coordinated manner. The military support provided to Ukraine further underscores Europe's determination to stand by its partner. By enhancing Ukraine's defense capabilities, European countries strengthen its ability to resist aggression and maintain control over its territory. This support signals that Europe's commitment is not merely rhetorical, but backed by concrete measures to protect Ukraine's sovereignty on the ground. It also serves as a deterrent, demonstrating to potential aggressors that attempts to alter borders or destabilize Ukraine will face significant resistance. Importantly, the EU approach is characterized by solidarity and coordination among its member states. Maintaining a unified front requires ongoing dialogue, compromise, and shared objectives, especially given the diverse interests and perspectives within Europe. This cohesion enhances the credibility of Europe's message and increases the impact of its collective actions. Fragmentation or inconsistency could weaken the response and embolden those seeking to exploit divisions. By standing firm together, Europe reinforces the idea that the international community must uphold rules and norms to ensure peace and security. The EU promised to respond decisively to any threats against Ukraine's partnership is a testament to its dedication to a stable, democratic, and cooperative international system. This collective resolve aims to protect not only Ukraine, but also the broader principles that sustain global order. The situation unfolding in Ukraine marks a defining moment in international relations and global power dynamics, underscoring the complex interplay between sovereignty, regional security, and the shifting balance of influence among world powers. Europe's promise to stand firmly with Ukraine is emblematic of a broader effort to reaffirm the principles of the rules-based international order, which have been challenged by recent geopolitical developments. This commitment carries significant implications not only for the immediate conflict, but also for the future architecture of global diplomacy and security. At its core, this moment highlights the ongoing struggle between adherence to international law and the realities of power politics. The invasion and continued aggression faced by Ukraine represent a clear violation of established norms that prohibit the use of force to alter borders or undermine sovereign nations. Europe's response, characterized by unity and decisive action, serves as a pivotal test of whether these norms can be upheld in practice. The way in which European countries and their allies manage this crisis will likely influence the behavior of other nations contemplating similar actions in different regions of the world. This pivotal moment also reflects the evolving nature of alliances and partnerships in the contemporary international system. Traditional alignments are being reevaluated as countries navigate a more multipolar world where power is diffused across various actors, including regional powers and non-state entities. Europe's firm support for Ukraine signals a reaffirmation of collective security principles and a willingness to engage actively in shaping the global order. It illustrates that regional conflicts have far-reaching consequences that demand coordinated responses beyond immediate geographic boundaries. Furthermore, Europe's stance has rekindled discussions about the role of international institutions and mechanisms designed to prevent and resolve conflicts. The crisis has exposed both strengths and weaknesses in existing frameworks, prompting calls for reforms and more effective enforcement of international law. Europe's leadership in rallying support for Ukraine demonstrates a commitment to strengthening these institutions, emphasizing the need for cooperation, transparency, and accountability in addressing global challenges. The outcome of this moment may well determine the future relevance and authority of international bodies tasked with maintaining peace and security. In addition to its legal and institutional dimensions, this moment carries profound strategic implications. Europe's support for Ukraine underscores the recognition that the security of one nation is intrinsically linked to the stability of the broader region. The conflict has highlighted vulnerabilities in defense postures, energy supplies, and economic interdependencies, prompting a reassessment of security strategies. The resulting shifts in defense spending, energy diversification, and diplomatic engagement reflect a broader recalibration aimed at enhancing resilience against future threats. The political ramifications are equally significant. Europe's promise to stand with Ukraine sends a strong message about the values it seeks to uphold: democracy, human rights, and national sovereignty. This moment crystallizes a choice between competing visions for the international order, one based on cooperation and respect for rules, and another grounded in coercion and unilateralism. The degree to which Europe and its partners can sustain their support and translate it into lasting change will shape the trajectory of global politics for years to come. This defining moment also serves as a catalyst for deeper integration and solidarity within Europe itself. The shared challenge posed by the crisis has encouraged greater collaboration among member states and reinforced the importance of a unified foreign and security policy. It has underscored the necessity of building stronger institutions and fostering a sense of collective responsibility in facing external threats. The lessons learned during this period are likely to influence the future direction of European cooperation and its role on the world stage. Ultimately, the situation encapsulates the enduring tension between power and principle that characterizes international relations. Europe's pledge to support Ukraine is a manifestation of its commitment to principled leadership, signaling that values and law remain central to global affairs despite shifting power dynamics. This pivotal chapter will not only define the immediate response to the crisis, but also set precedents that will resonate across the international system, influencing how nations interact, resolve disputes, and uphold the fragile balance of peace in the years ahead. Europe's commitment to Ukraine is more than a promise. It is a pledge to uphold the principles that bind us together: sovereignty, democracy, and peace. In standing firmly with Ukraine, Europe not only defends a nation, but also the future of a stable and united continent. Together, we reaffirm that when values are challenged, unity and resolve will always prevail.